Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's 9 o'clock in the evening to the English news from Djibouti channels. Here are the headlines. The head of state arrived in China to attend the summit of the Forum on China-Africa Corporations. On regional news, attack in Mogadishu. Welcome from Djibouti channel. The President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, arrived in Beijing, capital of China, to participate in the third China Forum held in the capital. To his descent flight, the Djiboutian President was warmly welcomed by a large delegation. The President is at the head of the President of at the head of a large delegation composed mainly of members of the government, including the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf. The main purpose of this forum is to seek ways and means for African countries to raise their level of friendship and cooperation through an intensive series of collaborations around win-win partnership. The China-African Corporations Forum has clearly increased its ambitions in recent years. This means that it's trying to prove that it's based on the ethics and an approach other than those which unfortunately could not have given Africa the development to which it aspirates legitimately. In addition to a section dedicated to a summit meeting between Africa and China leaders, the third China-Africa Forum on Cooperation is one of its important, essentially meeting between economics operators from Africa and China. On the other hand, the President of the Republic, Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, co-chairs with a bilateral meeting with the Chinese President. During this meeting, several topics were on the menu of their discussion, namely trade, free trade, bilateral relation and stability in the region, as well as the high and poor infrastructure of Djibouti is an advantageous industry sector. He highlighted the importance of boosting bilateral relations between the two countries and strengthening partnership. Mr. of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, signed a series of an agreement in the area of investment and vocational training. Djibouti is far from being a mere member of the strategic and economic alliance between China and Africa. Our country acts an indispensable link in the chain of expression and functioning on which all the embassies of China-Africa are based, thanks to the prime geographical position at the crossroads between several important economic regions and strategic seas. It serves as an access relay for China to the entire Eastern and Central African continent, thanks also to his high-end development infrastructure, including a port, the new free zone, the electric train, and the high-tech telecommunication. It gives the second economic power that is China the means to administer its businesses and its an optimal time. China and Africa leaders meet in Beijing for a summit on China-African Corporation that's entering a new area. Indeed, united by a cooperation which touched several domains for 50 years, this cooperation between China and Africa has taken a big scale these last 10 years and allows Africa to catch up in infrastructure. China's and Africa leaders meet in Beijing for a summit on China-Africa Corporations. Indeed, united by a cooperation which touches several domains. It's a big amplitude these last 10 years and allows to Africa to catch up in the infrastructure. For more, let's follow this report. China-Africa Corporation benefits the Black Continent enormously. Africa is the lagging behind in its infrastructure. This, in large part, explains his underdevelopment. It states that Africa infrastructure needs are estimated $93 billion per year. For 10 years now, Africa has been reducing this deficit with the basic infrastructure acquired through cooperation with China. Kilometers of route are built. Airports of international standing come out of the ground, as well as hospitals and schools are erected in several cities. Our country acts an indispensable link in the chain of expressions and functioning on which all the ambitions of China-Africa are based. Thanks to prime geographical position at the crossroad between several important economic regions and strategic seas, it served as an access relay for the China to the entire Eastern and Central Africa continent. Thanks also to its high-end development infrastructure, including ports, the news-free zone, the electric train, high-tech telecommunications, it gives the second economic power that China, the means to administrate its businesses in an optimal time. It's also in this that our country is assistant to the new Silk Road, the set of routes through which China, as a world power, intends to ensure its economic influence. China-African relations are helping to reintroduce Africa into the national flows of formal trade, which she has been sidelined of decades. China investment in agriculture favor the development of export monocultures. On the other hand, thanks to Africa, China is able to meet its growing energy needs. China currently buys more than a third of African oil. China industry are sourcing raw materials from Africa, such as South Africa coal, Gabonese iron ore, Equatorial Guinea timber, and Zambia copper, and so on. China industry also need new markets for these products. Africa is a huge market capable of responding to its concern. After the efforts placed the rewards, the ONG EVA closed yesterday the 10th editions of the Inter-Regional Level Friendship Tournament in Adailu. On this occasion, the various actors were rewarded for their performance. The commitment they showed honored in turn. The players celebrated this unique moment with their audience. The president of the NGO EVA, Mr. Ahmed Ali Saeed, was very satisfied with the successes of the event, which for the 10th time did not miss the rendezvous. He also emphasized the importance of this tournament for Djiboutian youth as a good way to flourish. On regional news, a car bomb attack hit this Sunday Mogadishu. A suicide bomber drove his vehicle into the Walwat district in the center of Somali capital. According to local authorities, the explosions killed at least 3 people, members of the security services, and a dozen wounded, including several children. The building and the school opposite were completely blown. The attack was claimed by the Al-Qaeda affiliated Islamic group Shabab, which is trying to destabilize the federal government supported by the international community and by the force of the African Union. On continental news, already restated by Donald Trump's decision in the Middle East, Palestinians on Saturday expressed their worth and dismay after the U.S. decisions to stop funding the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, whose help to millions of people is now at stake. On Friday, the United States, by far the biggest contributor to the agency, announced it was stopping funding to UNRWA, based according to State Department spokesman Heather. Israel held this decision on Saturday, accusing the organization of perpetuating the Israeli-Palestinian conflict by maintaining the idea to which is opposed the many Palestinians are refugees with the right to return to the land, the fleeing of being driven out of Israel's creations. That's the end of this edition. Thank you for watching us. Goodbye.